Despite the Liberals signing on to $52 billion to create an EV supply chain in Canada, the vast majority of EVs bought here are not made here. And now, despite the massive government subsidies, the auto companies are recording multi-billion-dollar losses on EVs and abandoning or delaying EV projects. But the Liberals now are doubling down with their new $2.3 billion EV subsidy, where Canadian workers will be forced to subsidize the purchase of foreign-made EVs, including EVs made in the United States. At a time like this, Mr. Speaker, it's unconscionable. Will the Liberals reverse course and stop Canadian tax dollars from funding the American-made EVs?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Of course, we believe in affordability, and we believe that Canadians can have access to EV incentives up to $5,000 for a car up to $50,000, and also for Canadian EVs, because obviously we believe that the future of the industry is towards electrification. Recently, there were more EV sales in Europe than gas combustion cars. Right. And at the same time, we know that in the next 5 years, 40% of all the cars worldwide will be electrified. So our plan is to make sure that we bring our industry at the forefront of innovation, and that good jobs are created here.
The honourable member for Kildonan St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, the bottom line is the American tariffs have cost 5,000 jobs in Canada's auto sector and tens of thousands more jobs in the manufacturing sector across the board. And meanwhile, the Liberals created a $2.3 billion taxpayer-funded program that will subsidize the purchase of American-made EVs to the direct benefit of the American auto sector when they're trying to destroy our auto sector. This is wrong, and the minister can easily rectify this. Will she do that?
Honourable Ministre.
The Honourable Minister.
I have a lot of time for my colleague, a lot of respect for her, but she also knows that our auto industry is facing obviously important challenges, but it took months for the Conservatives to actually denounce the U.S. tariffs on auto. And we know that the entire sector is integrated within North America, Canada, U.S., Mexico. Now, when she's talking about EVs made in the U.S., she has to take into account, and Conservatives need to take into account, that Canadian auto parts are part of these EVs. Is she going after the Canadian auto parts workers all across Ontario? That's my question.
The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
On Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday evening, I was in Toronto with the Unifor Skilled Trades Council conference. Those are the men and women that actually work in our auto plants to make sure the machinery and equipment works. And when I told them that their tax dollars were going to go to subsidize the purchase of American EVs, they were outraged and disgusted. Actually, they couldn't believe it was happening. So it's simple. Why would Canadian tax dollars be going to subsidize American EVs when Donald Trump is trying to kill our auto industry? Will they show they care about auto workers by cancelling the rebates for American EVs?
Honourable Ministre.
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, finally, my colleague met with the Unifor workers. It took him months to do that. We've been in contact with Unifor since the get-go, before even U.S. tariffs were imposed. We've been in contact with them to make sure that we would be working together as one Team Canada, because it took also months for the Conservatives to actually denounce the U.S. tariffs on our auto workers. We're there with the industry, from industry, businesses to auto workers, unions. Everybody's in favor of the auto strategy, including Premier Ford. Why are they?
The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
I have met with auto workers for the past 2 years. It's how we came up with our policy to take the HST off of all Canadian autos. It's actually the union workers' idea. What isn't their idea is to give their tax dollars to Donald Trump's America to build American vehicles. And these Liberals will not answer this question. Why are they giving these subsidies to EVs made in America when Donald Trump's stated goal is to destroy the Canadian auto industry? It's embarrassing, it's disgraceful, it's disgusting. They should look Canadian auto workers in the eye and apologize, but I know they won't.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I've known the colleague for a long time. He does have passion, I'll grant him that. Sometimes that passion leads him to act a bit too quickly. He forgot to talk to unions, Mr. Speaker. Earlier this week, he and other Conservatives raised the situation of workers at CAMI in Ingersoll, talking about the withholding of severance. What he forgot to do is actually talk to Unifor. Local 88 in Ingersoll came out with a statement. I'll review it for him, Mr. Speaker. We can look at it together. They said that their political posturing is unacceptable and they should not take advantage of the working people of Ingersoll. That's a direct quote, Mr. Speaker. It's unacceptable.
The honourable member for Niagara Falls, Niagara-on-the-Lake.
Speaker, this government's new EV strategy fails to put Canadian workers and automakers first. How is allowing 49,000 Chinese-made EVs into Canada and subsidizing the purchase of American-made EVs going to help the laid-off workers at GM in St. Catharines, who worry about the future of their engine plant? GM has been in St. Catharines since 1929. Will the Liberals support our motion to stop forcing Canadian workers to subsidize foreign-made vehicles and remove the GST on Canadian-made vehicles?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, we stand with our auto workers, with unions, with businesses that communities are built around, but they are also standing with us. Auto workers, mayors, union leaders, premiers. Premier Ford called this a great auto strategy. But let me read this to the House. The president of Unifor Local 200 in Windsor, who chairs Unifor's Auto Council, says he's ecstatic over the measures put in place as part of Canada's auto strategy. He says, we're putting a third shift on. We want to make sure that third shift stays. This incentive is so important to our community. I was ecstatic to see the government put that in place.
The honourable member for Niagara Falls, Niagara-on-the-Lake.
Speaker, that member's not talking to the Unifor members in St. Catharines who had an EV battery engine that was planned there, and GM moved it out because there's no sales. This government of Canada should not be subsidizing American-made EVs using Canadian taxpayers' money, especially when U.S. actions have already cost 5,000 Canadian auto worker jobs. Will the Liberals simply join us and finally put Canadians first and support our Conservative motion to remove the GST on Canadian-made vehicles?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
I know my colleague is fighting hard to change a narrative, but the auto strategy has been already out for a week, and everybody is in favor of it. So, including Unifor workers, of course, that are working at GM in St. Catharines, including Premier Ford, a very strong conservative, which we all know, including, of course, the industry, auto parts workers, everyone.
That's right.
Why? Because fundamentally it's a good plan. We know that the industry is going towards electrification. Capital is following that innovation. And so we won't hold our workers back. We will protect them.
The honourable member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, after months of pressure from Conservatives, this government is finally slamming the brakes on its ideological electric vehicle mandate. But their new EV rebate scheme won't protect Canadian auto workers. It's just going to subsidize Tesla and send taxpayer money straight across the border. The government's gone from elbows up to selling out. They're driving other countries' economies forward, all while leaving Canadian workers in the dust. This Liberal government's policies are eroding our domestic vehicle manufacturing sector and the livelihoods of Canadian workers. When will they finally get behind the wheel for Canada instead of selling out to Donald Trump and Elon Musk?
L'honorable ministre.
Honourable Minister.
Speaker, what the Conservatives need to understand right now is industry needs predictability and clarity. At a time where, indeed, there's a revision of the USMCA. We were able to provide that. And by providing that, now we're having conversation with German automakers, with Korean automakers, with Chinese automakers that want to invest in Canada and create good jobs. Why are they fundamentally against what the market is saying, which is this is a good plan and Canada is a great destination to invest?
The honourable member for Essex.
Speaker, Essex Windsor's auto sector isn't just assembly lines. It's mold makers, tool shops, part suppliers, and automation firms. The Liberals promise to protect their jobs, yet they're handing out money to American EV companies, importing Chinese EVs, and costing thousands of families their livelihoods. EV policy was meant to protect workers. So will the Liberals stop forcing Canadian workers to subsidize foreign-made vehicles and remove the GST on new Canadian-made vehicles?
The honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
The industry minister, the prime minister, every minister, this entire caucus is devoted to ensuring the well-being and future of the Canadian auto sector and workers, of course. Mr. Speaker, I invite workers, I invite Conservatives to support this government, to continue to ensure that measures are put in place to ensure the future well-being of that sector.
The honourable member for Hamilton East Stony Creek.
Canadian taxpayers should not be subsidizing American EVs when the U.S. trade conflict has already cost 5,000 Canadian auto manufacturing jobs and 37,000 since this Prime Minister took office. He needs to stop this insult to Hamilton auto workers and work with us to put Canadian auto jobs first. This is a time where the Canadian auto sector is looking for unity and action to stand up to Donald Trump. So will the Liberals join us and support our motion to remove the GST on new Canadian-made vehicles?
Yes.
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, of course, if the Conservatives knew a lot about the auto strategy, they would know that we're already supporting the Canadian-made auto sector and the Canadian-made vehicles. That will be for the Dodge Charger, that will be for the Pacifica, and we are convinced that there will be more because we will have more investment in the sector. But they've been asking the same question. I guess that their leader gave them a sheet to read. But fundamentally, what they need to remember is that Canadians are in favor of this because the entire sector is in favor of this.